We'll be talking about the Korean movie The Man Standing Next. So here's a little order of items that we'll go through today, and so we'll start with the introduction. And so The Man Standing Next was released on January 22nd, 2020 in South Korea, where it topped the box office until February 4th, 2020, and then it was subsequently released in the United States on January 24th, 2020. It was directed by the renowned filmmaker Woo Min-ho. The movie is also based on the non-fiction novel of the same title by Kim Jong-sik. And so the film was a commercial success, grossing approximately $34.7 million with a budget of $18 million, and its critical acclaim led to its selection as South Korea's entry for Best International Feature Film at the 93rd Academy Awards, though it ultimately wasn't nominated. The Korean Association of Film Critics recognized it as one of the 10 best films of 2020. Woo Min-ho, the director, who was born in 1971, is an established South Korean film director and screenwriter, and prior to the making of The Man Standing Next, he directed several notable films. In a lot of his films, he has a bunch of recurring themes, including political power dynamics, corruption, moral ambiguity, and leadership, and a narrative style that blends historical events with fictional elements to explore societal issues, and you can see all those things in The Man Standing Next. So here are some of the cast and characters we see in the movie, and you see Lee Byung-hun, who portrays a KCI director who ultimately assassins the president, and that character was inspired by the real-life KCI director Kim Jae-gyu, and he was especially famous because of his role in Hollywood movies such as Storm Shadow and the G.I. Joe franchise. And you see Lee Sung-min, who acted as President Park, Kwak Dong-hoon, who acted as a former KCI director who defected to the U.S. and was testified in the Koreagate investigation. Then Lee Hoon-jun, who is Kwak, which is an ambitious security general who would be in the ear of President Park. Then Kim Soo-jin, who acted as Deborah Shim, which was a supporting role as a lobbyist, and which added depth to the narrative and made things interesting. Then Seo Hyun-woo, who acted as Chun Do-hyuk, which is based on Chun Do-hwan, who is a future South Korean president. And in the movie, he is primarily the leader of the army. And so this film is set in the 1970s South Korea during President Park's authoritarian rule. It unfolds over 40 days leading up to his assassination, and it centers around the KCI director, and effectively the second command to President Park. And the power dynamics start to shift when the former KCI director defects to the United States and testifies before Congress, which threatens to expose the different money laundering practices that President Park has been doing under his regime. And so as political tensions escalate, Kim, the KCI director, faces rivalry with the president's security chief, Kwak, and the president starts to favor Kwak. You can sort of see this complex web of loyalties play out, and eventually leading to President Park's assassination after the KCI director had enough. And so, even though this film dramatizes actual historical events of President Park, who ruled South Korea with the iron fist, the movie largely remains faithful to the historical sequence of events, even though some names have been changed. And so, the real-life assassination also occurred during a time of significant political unrest in South Korea, which happened during the Bumop democratic protests. And in the movie, you can see those protests happening in Busan towards the end. And it also happened during the Koreagate scandal, where the United States Congress started investigating the Korean corruption and influence peddling operations. And so director Woo Min-ho tried to capture this historical material in the sense that it was a power struggle similar to a moment in Roman history where Brutus kills Caesar, where the second in command kills the first. It's a classic power struggle you see in a lot of movies. And so the central theme of The Man Standing Next is how power corrupts and how political figures must be held accountable for their actions. And through the president's internal struggle, the film illustrates how those in positions of authority can become consumed by the power, eventually believing themselves indispensable. And so the movie depicts Park's regime, which initially established with the goal of rebuilding Korea with the revolution, which the KCI director and the former KCI director participated in with him. but it gradually devolves into authoritarianism as he tries to cling to power and collect more money. And this really emphasizes the need for political accountability and how when political power turns into corruption, this could be really dangerous. And it draws ties to even recent political events such as the impeachment of former South Korean President Park. And this enduring relevance, even though the movie was set in the 1970s, it really makes it popular with viewers today. And this relevance has led to high reviews and positive reception in the box office. In fact, it was the highest grossing movie of 2020 in South Korea. And so The Man Sitting Next represents an important contribution of Korean cinema's engagement in national history. And so by dramatizing the events leading to President Park's assassination, the film offers both a gripping political thriller and a meaningful reflection on power, corruption, and accountability. And for international audiences, the film provides insight into a critical period of South Korea while presenting universal themes about the nature of political power. This movie is really fast-paced. The lighting really brings to light a lot of these struggles happening. When it's dimmer in more tense moments, it sort of leaves the viewer guessing as to what's going to happen and makes it intriguing and you're wanting to keep watching and learning more. And so through this careful historical recreation and complex character development, The Man Sitting Next invites viewers to consider the moral complexities of political action and the ultimate cost of authoritarian rule, which really makes it a fun movie to watch and learn more about South Korea. So thank you for your time, and here are some of the resources I used to put together this presentation.